Morning, world. Good morning, world. Name's Raheem Flowers, and we back at it again. Yes. Now, lately, I've been hearing about this swirl movement. Been hearing about that broad who it has never been on my radar. I've never implied her or referenced her on a video, but Crystal and Karazine talking about that big towel movement. Black women going out their own way, or it's basically like a distorted version of MGTOW. Funny thing is, a lot of these black women who speak like that will still want to depend on their white daddies, and in reality, they're trying to garner that attention from that white daddy and approval. Just like how that broad crystalline Karazine, or crystal meth Karazine, I'm gonna call her that, did when she was speaking to the Veganator. And honestly, what I want to talk about is about appropriation and how people like to appropriate when it's convenient to their own personal agenda. Now, I think about we as black people, we like to throw that word cultural appropriation around a lot. I remember watching a video on Vlad TV, Andrew Schultz from Brilliant Idiots and Guy Code and Uncommon Sense. He's on MTV a lot, and he's one of Charlemagne's white buddies. Andrew Schultz was talking about cultural appropriation with DJ Vlad. He was saying how only salty, broke rappers like to talk about that, and that's funny because I think in a way Schultz was just trying to pull some reverse psychology on motherfuckers. I mean, yes, we know we could speak about Elvis Presley taking rock and being the king and we could talk about Eminem and hip-hop, and we could talk about jazz and Frank Sinatra, even though the whole Italian and white thing is often debated, and that's for another topic. But you see, this is gonna further prove my point. You hear the word coon being flung around like monkeys throwing feces in a zoo. Think about it. Now, white people use that word to disparage black folks, especially around the 1800s and the early 1900s. They'd use the word coon. Now, you have black people. You got people who claim to be part of the Afrocentric pro-black movement using the word coon. I mean, Tariq Nasheed got the coon train going on. Robert Perkins loves to call everybody and their mama a coon. And we just got the whole black sector just throwing the coon word around like they're pitchers in baseball. It's funny. You can't try to use words in the same sense. You're mirroring those same white people and white supremacists that you say you're against, and it's supposed to be all good and gravy. Black women, you say that white women want to be like you and have those curvaceous bodies and those lips that are thicker and want to just, have that mannerisms, that attitude, which actually in reality turns down most men, especially black men, which is why black men have the highest rate in interracial dating, highest percentage. It's just a fact. And on top of that, you wear weave. Y'all look like a bunch of Negro peons. You put on blonde weave. You have that straight hair. You pat it down the same way I gotta pat down this new tattoo I got. And boom. So, you get on white women and black men and black people, we get on black white folks for emulating hip-hop, distorting it, which I believe to a degree has happened. But then you go around using disparaging terms that they've used amongst black people towards black people, claiming that you're trying to call coons out on their actions because they're tap dancing for white people, even though you have done nothing for black people, even though all you do is insult black people and cause dissension amongst other blacks. And you don't even come at whites with the same vitriol. You're not nearly as vigorous. This is just a fact. Black women, like Beyonce, how the hell are you gonna talk about Becky? How the hell are you gonna talk about white women trying to be like black women, but then you go around emulating their hairstyles? You go around trying to talk all effeminate and like a quote-unquote white girl whenever you get around white men. Look at that broad Christian Karazine trying to flaunt her own lifestyle with her husband, and then encouraging black women to go around interracially dating, especially with white men. And then not only that, you want to go and take a movement such as Big Towel, men going out their own way, and have this Big Towel movement trying to be on some independent stuff. You're not being independent though. You're just being a bunch of broads who are disgruntled, looking for attention and looking for some dick to hop on like a pogo stick or a bamboo stick. It's plain and simple. Yes. And I also thought about another thing. One thing that I noticed. Remember that Cleveland Indians logo, but in reversal, was with white people? And white people were saying how offensive it was. But here's the thing. I often hear white people talk about political correctness, and they say it as if it's a horrible thing, which I do believe it is. But how could you get on people for being politically correct when you were being politically correct and you were being in your feelings with a logo, a reversal logo, such as the Cleveland Indians, but it had Caucasian on it and it had a white man with a dollar bill? So you could be politically correct when it's convenient to you, but political incorrectness comes in full effect when you're getting ready to go in on another group of people. And I'm not just talking about white people, I'm just saying society at large. We like to pick and choose when we can appropriate another culture, another lifestyle, and just how people approach things altogether. Yep, that's what it seems like. I don't think anybody could convince me otherwise. I mean, even think about people who are considered half-breeds, mixed breeds, etc. I mean, you will claim to be black when it's convenient, but when it's time to throw down, when it's time to wage what some may call a race war, you're gonna try to be on the fence. But guess what? It's like my dad once said, you can't try to hop the fence, because what if that fence burns? And let's say that you're somewhere in high altitude and you had to pick a side, and eventually that fence or gate or rope or whatever you're hanging on to burns. You're gonna have to make some choice. Life has those type of ultimatums. You can't have the best of both worlds. You cannot have peaches and creams, cookies. You can't have cookies and milk all the time. That's not how this world runs. But that's a spoiled mentality that goes on. You know, I thought about something too. Something that Sarge says, Sarge Willie Pete, for those, SWP, for those who may or may not be familiar with him. You see, Sarge was talking about something that I thoroughly agreed with, even though I don't think he lives by it. He was talking about philosophical inconsistency. He used Tommy Sotomayor and Tariq Nasheed as an example. The man was saying, Tariq, you can't get on people for, not being a part of the Melanoid Nation movement and, embracing the history of blacks, but then you mingle with a girl who is mixed and have mixed children. And Tommy, the whole children out of wedlock and what black women do to fuck up the minds of children, and how Tommy himself doesn't take care of children and in essence is fucking up the mind of children, and having fatherless America and he's being fatherless to his children and whatnot. But here's the thing though, for a brief moment, because I don't want to get too much into this. Sarge, he's not a fan of the one-drop rule. He has a huge opposition to it, as a matter of fact. But simultaneously, you don't want black people, you don't want mixed breeds to be the face of black people, and yet you look at Malcolm X in high regard, or light-skinned people. Dr. Clark Anderson is one of your biggest idols. I mean, this is the same guy who goes and rambles about how black people and black men especially need to go and create some economic bases and invest into a black patriarchy. You go in on matriarchy and then you do some sideways simping shit. Like when you were getting in on Tommy for not taking care of his alleged son, who I believe is 19 now, and how black men have nothing to offer black women, which is why they run to those white men. But really, you're using that same skewed logic that many disgruntled black women, like Crystal and Karazine, does, Sarge. I mean, how does that work out? How do you go in on white supremacy and you talk about the ills of white supremacy, but you don't even have enough temerity, you're not even tenacious enough to show your own face? I heard somebody on the YouTube comment section say, well, you have to understand though, bro, Sarge, he works in corporate America, and Sarge lives in the suburbs, somewhere in the East Coast. But that's the funny thing, Sarge. So you can exalt white people and go in on white supremacy. You could talk about how black people lack critical thinking, even though you jump to conclusions about Tommy Sotomayor's situation, and then talk about magical thinking, exalting white people, like I was saying, bigging them up, and saying white supremacy's fucking over all black people, essentially. But then you are taking the fruits of the labors of this white supremacy. You're benefiting off of it yourself, which is what makes you a leech. You don't even know how much of a walking paradox you are. So, you can hate the tree, i.e. white supremacy, but you can love the fruits. Living in the suburbs, having a corporate jobs. You can love the tree. You can love the fruit, but hate the tree. No, Sarge, you can't hate the tree and love the fruit, especially in that context. How does that even work out? Magical thinking, black people, religion, exalting white people, white supremacy, Christians, the devil, it's the devil's doing. You don't even see the parallels in that, do you, brother? But like I said, that's what it's about. And honestly, you shouldn't get on people for their imperfections, which I don't. Look at me, I'm clumsy, I overthink things, I'm hard-headed, I have a social ineptitude. These are things that I will admit to myself. There's a lot of fucked up things about me, but I stay true to my principles. And I would dare somebody who knows me on a personal, intimate level to tell me otherwise, as much as I fuck up in life. But yeah, philosophical inconsistency. I had to use Sarge Willie Pete as a prime example. I used his own thing against him. And, yeah, it's funny. We try to take things as human beings We claim it as our own, just like a lot of these rappers do. Look at Designer. Designer takes Future style and saying, you know, he's just inspired by life. Yeah, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, bro. You know that you just took Future's blueprint and ran with it. But many people say the Future took T-Pain's blueprint and ran with it. And just like how Drake was trying to insult Kid Cudi. I mean, look at that, man. He fathered your style, Drake. When you made Thank Me Later, who you think was the big part of 808 and Heartbreak? That was Kid Cudi. Yup. So, yeah, we like to appropriate shit when we find it appropriate. Yup. And that's what's gonna be, that's what's gonna be. But my issue is people should just stay true to themselves, and if you don't like something, call that shit out. Black women, you can't talk about, we need our weave, send that shit to the white suburbs. I don't wear it, but we need it. So, you need to emulate white women. You need to emulate a different ethnic group, not just white women. And you saying that this is what black men want, even though many black men tell you you are much more beautiful, much better, much refined with your natural hair that you were born with, that you inherited, a genetics that you genetically came up with in your life. But instead of fucking up, rather than fucking up your scalp, having an odor that will eventually smell like a skunk or a dead rat, because you're a self-absorbed, insecure group of people. That's what it seems like to me. Yup. If that's what it's gonna be, that's what it's gonna be, but I don't want no parts of it. In fact, I don't even associate myself with mainstream blacks these days. Until things get changed significantly, but that's what it's gonna be. Yup. Until otherwise. So let's see if things will change for the better. The Bible always says things get worse until it gets better. You know, that's such an arbitrary, patronizing statement. I'm not waiting on no deity. And as a deist, especially, I'm not waiting on no deity to change the world and my life. We're masters of our own fates, and this is what we have to remind ourselves of. Yup. And I'm gonna finish off like that. Peace out, and have a good day, people.